as Andy says in the chat, like, and that's kind of been my reaction to it. I didn't expect this. Like, got to call a spade, JP. I really, really believed it was, I think my initial guess was in the 40s up to. You've been very kind to me there, saying Benno said 50,000. I think I said it might approach 50,000, but I don't think I said it to get past it. I want to throw that prediction away now. I mean, that's like way higher than I thought it'd be. We kept talking about the, drip feed that's going to happen over the next year when it comes to those tickets, and we just both assumed it was going to take them a while to get anything approaching last year's numbers. 27,000 off 2 days is fucking, again, I know the last year was unbelievable very quickly, but like even if it is going to be slower, last year when we knew nothing about what was possible, when we weren't sure if they were going to do 60, 70,000 odd, when our estimates were, well, especially mine, were on the even lower end, I would have been like, fucking hell, 27,000. So I've got to say this year, fucking hell, 27,000. Yeah. Like, that's, approaching 30,000 with nothing announced in December. A lot of people buying stuff for Christmas and that. I think you've got to tip your hat to them. I know we just joked about it, but like, they are, there's positives to talk about with AEW's business. We can hammer the creative, but like, that's, to me, getting towards a success already for the second Wembley. Obviously, those business numbers are very impressive as well. And answering our points a little bit, JP, I would say, even, I know it's not like the biggest thing in the world, but having Claudio over here doing media, you know what I mean? And doing this pre-sale early and getting the word out there, I was very impressed by the fact that, and I know it's a bit like when we compliment WWE, Dynamite opens with like, a big plug for Wembley. They should have been doing that anyway all the time, but they weren't. That was something we gave them grief for. They're doing the basics, JP, and like, this is extremely promising, and I think deserved. I think they're playing it right, to be honest.
They are setting this up like it is their WrestleMania. I think we're under no illusions about how big this show is. Bigger than Sting's retirement, bigger than Double or Nothing. Bigger than everything else that they're going to be doing, like over the next year. So it is very much setting itself up to be there. Rather like Platt says there in the chat, I'm not still rushing to buy tickets because I think there is a point where this kind of peters out at a stage. And then I wonder, personally, I know like I can get the argument why not to kind of come over beforehand. But I think in some ways, if they came over and delivered like a couple of really great shows that were sold out in a couple of arenas, just to kind of whet the appetite of, well, if you want more of this,
maybe when things quiet down. I can see that argument,
yeah, like post Sting's retirement, like in those last few months towards it as well. Looking at the poster that they've got up there as well. You look at some of the names.
Crap, isn't it? It's YouTubers with better graphic design than that. I don't know who made that poster. Tony Khan has spare time. Like, what?
Exactly. But it is awful. It is shocking for that. But I mean, it shows you like kind of like who the people who are going to be featured like as kind of big stars, and Will Ospreay's on there as well, who you have to imagine like you want to get to that early enough. You want to have Will Ospreay almost putting in a challenge of whoever is champion at but the time of All In, I'm going to be challenging them, and like almost set that up as your main event. Dare I say it, from the moment he comes into the company, like that should be like ultimately the kind of goal that's there. So yeah, fair play to them. It's a really good start. It would suggest that they're getting closer to that kind of like higher business range. I don't know if you can hear Charlie in the background. He's excited about this.
The cat's going here as well.
Oh yeah,
she's impressed.
Exactly, very impressed with those. And she's saying, "Come on, Benno, get the tickets sorted, lads." And you're saying, "I'll wait until they're £8 and we're stood outside." Having done a live show that day as well.
£3 I'm open for. But isn't that is that what we're learning here? Like, our assumption was everyone was like us, and in our bubble, like it absolutely, feels like dry AEW, and people's enthusiasm is down, and everyone kind of, I would have assumed would be in similar boats to us. The amount of people who came out and was like, yeah, last year I spent a lot, this year I didn't fancy spending so much. I mean, that doesn't sound like it was representative. What do you put this down to? Nearly 30,000. Who are these nearly 30,000 people, JP? Like, how'd you characterize them? 'Cause it's not a lot, I don't think. I don't think it's the people who feel like us about AEW.
No, I don't think it's that. But I think there is, there's always been a very hardcore fan base within the UK who are going to buy tickets and are going to sell, and stuff is going to sell out automatically. They're not people who, like, I think there's going to be those people who went to Wembley and absolutely loved it, and were decided, well, I'm going to be there the moment tickets are on sale, and so they've decided to do this. I think this doesn't suggest to me sellout or things of that nature, simply because if you're looking at about, okay, when we get those first day sales, things like last year, it kind of petered off after like kind of 60,000, and it was very much incremental buys. There's a couple of other interesting factors, and it's going to be a story that's going to be completely ongoing, because we're going to see smaller ticket sales, but just on that kind of consistent level. A lot of the time, it might be like 100 a week and stuff like that. And then points where they might end up trying to push it in quite a major way. I just think there's like, if you think of their TV audience on ITV, that there's 90 to 100,000. Like, we don't watch it on ITV, but a lot of those people who will be like, yeah, I'm there, and it's Christmas, so I'm going to buy the tickets for it. So
maybe, but like, do these people know? Because like, Dynamite as an agent, as it on ITV, like, that's what I mean. Where are they coming from? I mean, I guess, they're still out there. They're still on the internet, aren't they? So the word's gotten to them. And AEW have been set, to their credit, chilling this pre-sale, date for a little while. I don't know. I think for me, I'm actually quite stunned, and it makes me think maybe we're wrong. Maybe this is going to do numbers similar to last year. I think I'm going to climb down that horse a little bit. I guess we'll see if it just turns out to be, we don't see over the next few weeks this pattern, or months, it's going to be more case carry on. But like, Don saying he bought one, a cheap one from the deck. Maybe it is that. Maybe it's 30,000 cheap seats. People who does talk about it, but yeah, genuinely, like, it's a surprise to me, and it's maybe rethink how we approach it. But I guess we'll see as time goes on. And speaking of sellouts, JP, we also have an update on CM Punk, which I wanted to do. Hello, YouTube. I don't know if I'm going to post this time. I'm too scared now with all the comments from the last one. But
Mom, I'm recording. Stop it.
In your CM Punk roundup of the different news stories that have kind of come out since we did Spotlight. I'll keep it brief, promise. For the haters out there, there's not much preview later, so don't worry. So first story, CM Punk did react to the Raw ratings from his return. And obviously, you covered the overall on the midweek update, but it pulled 1.884 million viewers, which is now christened him as 1.8 mil Phil, and scored a 0.65 in the 18 to 49 demo. Highest viewership since the August the 7th episode, and highest 1849 since April. Not exactly, gigantic, but Punk did reply in celebration, tagging Randy Orton in an Instagram post there. CM Punk, Randy Orton returns, boost a Monday Night Raw rating by 29%. Is our variety categorized it, and year on year, like, that is true. It's in the 20% improvement, and especially an improvement. The 29% figure they're given is compared to last week's show. Still, though, it's a November Raw, so like the ceiling's only going to be so high. I don't think we've actually seen full quarter hours yet, but Brandon Thurston has said on his Twitter that the high quarter hour is actually the opening quarter for Randy Orton's return. And I dread saying that, because hopefully Matty's not listening to this, because he gets to hold it over to me that Randy Orton's return to Raw did a better quarter hour than Punk's did. I'll argue Punk's one came at the end of 3 hours, but quickly before I mention the other Punk stories, does that surprise you? Is that it is an impressive number for Raw in November, but is it as impressive as maybe you hoped it would be or thought it would be?
In some ways, I actually thought it'd hit 2 million. I didn't think it'd be much over 2 million, because there is a ceiling to this, and there's a ceiling to it in November, and football. And it is, there's those kind of aspects. And there's a lot of the audience who would think to themselves, I don't need to sit through 3 hours of Raw. Maybe it would have done better if it had been somewhere towards the end of hour one. Like, they did that commercial 3 hour, and they had that towards then, and that might well have held the audience. I think there might well have been a fatigue from people. And again, I haven't seen like the kind of breakdown of it necessarily, but it's always the case with hour 3 that it kind of goes somewhat, there's a real steep drop off between 2 and 3. Why? Because the show's too fucking long. There's no getting around that. So I think it's a really strong. I think it's a really strong number for what Raw is these days. I think 2 million kind of would have been like a good kind of little milestone to have there. It's going to be interesting about how often he's used, because I think one of the issues in some ways in AEW was because he was on there all the time. You've got the familiarity. Is he going to be on there this week? What are we going to, how much of an impact is that going to make? But I also don't, and this is part of what we spoke about on Spotlight, never felt like they capitalized on it. Like they didn't make this out to be as big a thing as it kind of should be, because this is CM Punk returning to WWE after 10 years. And I know in his Instagram post, he loved to quote a good bit of hate breed. There's also Rampage Brown will be happy.
Somebody pulled out is it the Rancid song he used? It's something like, back where I belong or something like that.
Yeah.
And found the story when he returned to AEW, exact same song he used on his Instagram story. I'm not even sure he's trolling. I don't think he's got that level of self-awareness. I think he just is continuing to be Phil Brooks, which is what he is. But yeah, for me, I thought it was on the disappointing side. Again, I expected a bit higher. Again, yes, there's football competition, but from the people who know, was it the Vikings who were playing? Gareth won't like me saying this, but apparently it wasn't a very prestigious game. So I would have expected a bit more. But yeah, maybe they could have been cleverer with it. Maybe it should have been earlier in the show, which is something we kind of alluded to on Spotlight.
Yep.
Maybe could have been given more than 5 minutes. Thank you, Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes. But hey ho, put him at the end. As Platt says, was brave, and it was 3 hours that none of us who live to tell the tale are ever going to get back. In other Punk notes, quickly to talk about, I suppose, there's been endless stories this week about how the locker room's been reacting to him. He was going around giving handshakes and hugs and kissing babies. Again, stop me if you've heard that before, because we have heard that before. Kevin Owens specifically was asked about in coming back. Fucking cracker of a clip. I don't know if you've seen it, JP, of Owens in his car. He was asked both about CM Punk and Randy Orton returning to the WWE. Asked about CM Punk, Kevin Owens replied, "I just want to have fun at work." So if he's got that mindset, great. Asked about Randy Orton, Kevin Owens basically went on for about 10 minutes. "I love Randy. I'm so happy he's back. Having him in the locker room is an absolute positive. There's just some people, besides the fact that he's a fantastic performer and he's a legend, there's just some people it's good to have around, etc., etc. It's good for morale. He's a locker room leader without being a leader. We all love our game and Randy's around." Like, look at the length of that paragraph. It's fucking brilliant. And as I can't remember who said it on our Discord, but I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, that says more about Kevin Owens' thoughts on CM Punk coming back than I'm here to have fun. I hope he is too. That he said about Punk. Every line he said about Randy Orton there is about Punk instead. And you know what it won't maybe do, DP, is go, you know what? It might be a budget version of Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk, but god damn, I wish it was Kevin Owens versus CM Punk in his first feud back and not Seth Rollins. Like, imagine all of that material you've given Seth Rollins. "Oh, you bastard. You left us. We've been running this company without you. You're a bastard. You're a sellout." Imagine it coming out of Kevin Owens' mouth. Imagine how many times better it would be. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the real life beef is probably too deep for that to happen, but definitely made me laugh. Explains why Sami Zayn wasn't on Raw either. I think they got those lads out of Dodge while Punk was around, so he couldn't kick off a Kevin Owens t-shirt or describe one of his moves as the unsafe suplex that he once did when he was on commentary for an Owens match in 2005. These wrestlers don't forget, JP, unfortunately, and Punk's chief among them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the problem with Punk, because I don't think he can complain about people having long memories and holding grudges, considering his whole reason.
Some of the stories I've heard.
Yeah, Punk's whole reason for being is to hold grudges and make these things fucking drag on for as long as humanly possible. I'm with you in the sense of like a Kevin Owens feud, just because, like, in terms of starting off hot with a heated kind of feud, whereas it feels with Seth Rollins, it's more of like okay, we're going to position you into the. I mean, it feels a lot more false, really. And I have to say, I haven't heard the clips on commentary, so I look forward to at some point, maybe when we get back into the Chronicles of Phil, that we end up possibly talking about that kind of stuff and how he ends up pissing off so many of the current WWE roster. But it is, and it probably leads nicely into kind of like the next story as well. I mean, it's the thing that Owens had always managed to do. Of one of the things he did tweet after Brawl Out as well was the picture of him wrestling Steve Austin on night 1 of WrestleMania. Yeah, fucking awesome.
Yeah, WWE optimistic Punk versus Steve Austin match can happen, is what has been reported by Fightful. Apparently, many in WWE are hopeful and even optimistic the match will happen at some point. Some forces say it'd be the ideal scenario for them to meet in person and come up with ideas. Obviously, that was teased a long time ago. Was Punk and Steve Austin? Remember when they did that sit down thing for the video game, wasn't it? Where they talked up a match like it was Rock and Austin sit down before WrestleMania 17. I don't know how I feel about it really. Like I think, yeah, maybe. Like I'm not particularly excited about it. I think the Owens match, not to slag Owens off too much, but I think that's kind of been retconned a little bit. Like that was never two equals having a WrestleMania main event. It wasn't a WrestleMania main event until the day of, and Austin made it one. Owens was the Miz in that match. Owens just talked them in. Was the token heel, talking up the fact that Austin was never going to come and beat him up, and then Austin came and beat him up, and Austin gave him plenty in the match, to be fair, but his role was very much that antagonizer, and then Austin was the real star. I think Austin and Punk would be more of they're not equals, but more of a clash of equals, and that's the difference in Punk and Owens. Neither of them ever belonged in WWE, and whereas Owens seems to kind of know it and is just happy for his lot in life and seems like a cracking bloke. Punk, he gets in there. He's like, no, I should be the champion. I'm the best. Fuck you all. They got very different attitudes to a very similar situation they both found themselves in when they first got to WWE. But that'd be the difference in that program, I think, for me. Or Punk could treat it more like an Austin Rock situation. But I'd watch it. Still not the most interesting possible direction for Punk with me. But I get why people see it as that level of match. It's like the Roman Reigns thing. There's more reporting on that today. Apparently, that's going to be way far in the future. That's a much bigger match for me than that would be.
Oh yeah, I think that one you want to do that if you're doing like at a stadium for SummerSlam. That would be where you want to go, because then you've got in with a good shot of selling out the stadium if you've kept CM Punk hot up to that point in time, and you've got Roman kind of like as a featured part of the TV. I think the problem is with this match is the fact we've seen Steve Austin in the ring now, and so you haven't. The idea of Punk versus Austin would have worked better, obviously, if you hadn't had that Owens match, which that's the problem. So for those people like me, where you thought, I want to see Steve Austin in the ring, you've kind of had that fix to a certain degree, and as much I'll still watch it, obviously, and will they cause interest? Absolutely. And if nothing else, I want to see him on the Stone Cold Sessions, because I want to see if they go anywhere near AEW or anything else, which they probably won't for legal reasons.
Could set up a match through it though, couldn't you? You could do something. I mean, it'd be hard to do with it being a non-kayfabe environment, but maybe you could do something.
I think you could hint at something like that. Would be like kind of like interesting for that, if nothing else. But it is very much like, it's almost like Kevin Owens has stolen that thunder, because I think the idea would have been, I'm Steve's match back. That would have been the big selling point, but he's had that match back, and we're having another one potentially within like a year. That's that in and of itself, we don't have that kind of novelty value surrounding that. So I think that's why I'm not particularly, I wouldn't say excited about it. I'm intrigued to see what they would do to make it different and make it fresh. But it would require, and those two guys, for any of their faults or CM Punk's faults, they are clever. And if you put them in the room together, they'll work out ways to make this work, because they both take it so absolutely seriously that they would make this work. Punk versus Hogan would be fucking hilarious for shits and giggles, just to go to Ewan's comment there in the chat.
We need Punk versus Roman just for me and Matty, as Matty's put on Twitter, for us to go to full. Well, that's the conclusion of mine and Matty's story. If that match ever happens, never mind. Cody versus Roman, the grapple civil war. Let's hope we get there. But yeah, last quick note on CM Punk is just they managed to draw a comment out of Tony Khan on it in the New York Post. We just talked about the first dance was an incredible moment in wrestling, very important time for AEW, and one of our biggest pay-per-views. CM Punk has been a big part of very exciting times in AEW. So he was willing to say his name, so we learned his lesson from the interview we talked about.
Problem solved.
So there you go.
Get him back in when the contract's up, Tone. Yeah, all the
I wouldn't
problems are
shock me.
solved.
It wouldn't shock me. Like I keep saying, that Brian thing, it's very interesting. The Punk is not going like for the neck of AEW. It's almost like he knows he did wrong, or maybe he's playing the long game. But yeah, maybe we'll see one day. But I'm sure there'll be more news coming up. Simon says, yeah, the cat has enough of the Punk talk. I don't know if that was the cat or Charlie. I think it might have been Charlie.
It might be
everyone's
Charlie.
sick of it. Everyone's sick of Punk talk. Gabe Stevenson is the special ref. Punk versus Roman. There you go. Me and Matty in the two corners. Perfect.
He'd be featured in a main event at WrestleMania, wouldn't it? And that would really complicate the bloody. That would really complicate the bet that you and M have going on, wouldn't it? That'd be absolutely wild.